So when you read the title of this video, you probably thought that I was going to be talking about, dangerous things like drugs and alcohol, which of course are important to remove from your life before you have a child. You don't want to be doing drugs. It's best to, for the most part, eliminate all alcohol, no smoking, limit caffeine intake, listen to your doctor with their recommendations about raw food, cheeses. Your medical care provider will give you really good information about all of those dangerous things to avoid. And of course, your intuition, will tell you what things you should and should not put into your body and the activities that you should and should not engage in. But today I'm going to be talking about danger from more of an emotional and a spiritual standpoint. I get a lot of emails from women who are in toxic relationships, and not just with a partner, but it could be a parent or a sibling or a friend or an employer. We have so many different layers of relationships in our life, and so that's one of the first things I want to talk about. Something to remove from your life before you become a mother, those toxic relationships. And I know that this can feel so overwhelming when you're pregnant. You feel like I already have so many things that I need to take care of. Like, I do not want to deal with my issues with my mom. I get that. But it's so much harder to deal with that stuff when we have a child in tow. And when we have, these people coming into our lives that want to be around more because of the baby, but we have all these issues and it makes us stressed out, and it compounds all of the challenges we already face as new mothers. So one of my biggest recommendations, and I have clients in my class, moms and dads, partners, whomever is there as the birth support, we make a list. And they make a list, we don't have to share it, we don't get into a deep therapy session, but they make a list of number one, the first column is people in their lives that offer a lot of support and make them feel good about themselves. And we do this in my class mainly for them to figure out who they want to support them during birth and in early motherhood. But it's also just a really great way to figure out who is really showing up for me and who is a positive presence in my life. And then we make another list. And this list is really, really hard to make because it often makes us face the reality that certain people in our lives, at least right now, are not serving us. And I don't mean in a they need to do everything that I want, but being around them doesn't make you feel good. They don't make you feel good about yourself. You feel stressed out when you're around them. Now, if one of those toxic people is your partner, that is a bigger, deeper issue, and I highly recommend getting professional support in couples counseling. But for pretty much everybody else on the list, there are people that we can make boundaries with. So say, for example, it is your mother, and maybe she puts a lot of pressure on you to make the same choices that she did. Maybe she makes you feel shame if you don't make those choices. So you can make a list of boundaries that you want to have with her. And I know that this is so much easier said than done, but once you make those list of boundaries, for example, you can no longer tell me how I need to birth my child or how I need to be in relationship or whatnot. You can very clearly tell her that I do not want your advice unless I'm specifically asking for it. Tell her or whomever it is in really specific terms what is and is not okay in your relationship together. And this might result in that person blowing up and leaving your life for a little bit, which is so painful, but that might be what has to happen. Or hopefully, they receive the boundaries and they start to incorporate that into your relationship. And then once you've given those boundaries, if that person violates them, you have the right to spend less time with them or to say, hey, you know what, you're violating my boundaries. I don't think we can spend time together right now. All of this takes so much courage, and I am the worst at implementing boundaries. I'm just slowly, baby step by baby step, learning how effective it is when we create these boundaries. And it has caused fractures in relationships with people in my life that I'm supposed to be close to, but it's also created a lot of freedom and a lot more emotional health in my life when I've created these boundaries and spent less time with certain people. So creating those boundaries, removing those toxic relationships or the toxic elements of relationships out of your life. And so the other dangerous thing I want to talk about is self-loathing and being your own worst critic. I think most people deal with this, but I think women especially, I think we are incredibly hard on ourselves. And when we're moving through a process, if this is your first pregnancy and you're moving through this process that is in a large part unknown, and it's making you face new aspects of yourself, it is challenging you in almost every way, that self-loathing, God, I cannot say that word properly, it comes up, and like all that critique, and man, we can be so mean to ourselves. This can come up big during pregnancy, childbirth even, like, why can't I handle this? I'm weak, yada, 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 or early motherhood. So some ways through this, again, I am a huge proponent of therapy, of counseling. If you can afford that, if that's an option for you, I think we should all be in therapy. I think it's such a great resource. But beyond that, you know, doing activities like journaling, just getting like really honest with yourself about like pretend like you're writing a letter to yourself, you know, and you're trying to create boundaries in that toxic relationship with yourself. You know, and you can create boundaries, say, you are no longer allowed to tell me that I am fat or that I'm lazy or whatever it is you tell yourself. Create boundaries. Do that journaling, do meditation, go on long walks where you have like conversations with yourself. Nobody will think you're a crazy person, but it's helpful, you know, treat your relationship with yourself just like you were treating the relationships with other potentially toxic people in your life, and try to heal as much of the toxic aspects of your relationship with yourself as you can before baby comes out of the womb. So those are the two biggest elements that I think are really important to look at, and again, remove as much of the toxicity as you can, not just in the substances you put in your body, but the people and the energy that you have around and within you, to really put in the work to heal as much as possible before you have a baby. I could have gone so much deeper into this. I could talk about this for hours. So I would love to start a private dialogue with you if you have questions about this. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and so for a lot of clients that have deeper issues with what I was talking about, I create personalized guided meditations for them, and I'd be happy to do that for you. So reach out if you have questions about what I was talking about, if you want a personalized guided meditation, or if you have any questions about pregnancy, childbirth, or early motherhood, go ahead and email me at the email address below, and I will answer your questions on this video series. Sending you lots of love on this challenging but enchanting journey.